Hello, everybody. Welcome back to A Cult of Misfits. I'm Matt Owens. 12:12 on the clock as I record this. Shout out to the angels. Shout out to all the angels checking out my podcast right now. It might even be you, my sweet little angel. Thank you to everybody who's been checking out the podcast, interacting with me, talking about stuff I love to talk about, talking about sobriety lately. That's the topic du jour. I'm going to kind of elaborate on that topic today as we talk about shit that no longer serves us and what that means and what I'm doing in my life to shed and let go of the things in my life that ain't serving me no mo. Quick shout out to everybody who has been checking out the podcast and interacting with me on social media. You can see Cult of Misfits on Instagram and Twitter. The podcast is on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts and probably a couple of other places that I can't really think of right now. So check it out. And thank you to everybody who's following me on those platforms. My goal is to monetize this bad boy, and you can help me out if you are a friend of the cult, a friend of the podcast, or just a friend of me in real life. I would really love it and appreciate it if you could hit follow on whatever platform you happen to listen to my sweet, sweet voice on. It would mean a lot to me because the more those numbers go up, the closer I get to monetization. So thank you to everybody who has been checking me out, and I appreciate the follows. Let's talk about things that no longer serve us. I was watching some TV yesterday, just perusing. I'm actually house sitting at one of my sister's houses, and I'm implying that I have several sisters. She does not have several houses. That came out a bit odd, but just follow me here. Looking for something. I'd already binged all the things, and so I was looking for a little something else, and so I was perusing the cable, which I haven't watched cable in so long. It's almost like, I got this Telegraph yesterday. It's like, who's watching cable? But anyway, I won't judge them for having cable. I saw an old movie that it used to be one of my faves when I was in high school. I was a bit of a film nerd, I'll just say it. I was a film nerd, film buff, a cinephile, if you will. And I had a top 100 list of my 100 favorite movies. I cultivated it. I gave it a lot of thought. It meant a great deal to me. I was really into movies. At some point in my life, in my 30s, I went to California to pursue screenwriting. I was always kind of into indie, these underground films sort of a thing. So anyway, noticed one of those movies from my top 100 list back in the day was on the cable. So I checked it out. I was kind of excited because I haven't watched it since, 1998 or whatever. And the movie is Leon, the Professional. Never heard of it? Not surprised. So shout out to those of you that have actually heard of that movie, let alone watched it. But it's a movie, it doesn't matter what it's about, but it's a movie about this professional assassin. He's this badass dude, real mysterious type of a guy, quirky, and he finds this girl living in his apartment building, and he kind of recruits her, and she's got kind of a shitty life, and so he takes her under his wing and takes her on these assassination gigs, basically, right? It's a real wholesome movie, guys. But I'm sitting there watching it and thinking to myself how awful it is. And no, nothing against anybody who created the movie. I don't like to shit on other people's art, but what I'm getting at is it just wasn't working for me anymore. And I'm like, how can I have ever liked this movie? And it wasn't awful. I've definitely seen worse movies, right? But it just didn't hit the way that it did when I was in high school, right? My tastes have changed since then. My idea of what I view as a good movie versus a bad movie versus what is artistic versus not artistic has all shifted since I've been in high school. And so I'm watching this movie just thinking like, wow, I'm not liking this at all. So about 20 minutes into it, I just shut it off and took a walk. So the reason why I'm telling you this story is because there's many instances in our life where we used to have a real attachment to something, right? Whether it's a movie or a substance or music or relationships in our life, there's just always this shifting and changing. And what I've learned to do in my life, just to make things easier, is to just accept this fact that things shift and change, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's like these people in our lives, like, the kid that you grow up with, during your childhood, you guys did everything together in elementary school, best friends, BFFs forever, little inside jokes and stuff, like, you guys, you're ride or die in elementary school, and then, you graduate to junior high or high school or whatever, and you kind of start getting interested in different things, new things. You meet a different crowd of friends, a different circle of friends that you start hanging out with. And then you bring along, the guy from elementary school, and you guys kind of don't have anything in common anymore. Like, you got different groups of friends, you got different interests, and there's nothing wrong with that friend from elementary school, but you hang out with them and it's just not really working like it used to, right? Like, the inside jokes don't hit like they used to, and maybe you kind of find them a little annoying now, or they find you annoying now, or, it's just work. It's just work trying to get that relationship up and running again. And so, there's nothing wrong with that person. There's nothing wrong with these things that we attach to, right? That we have sentimentality towards, or, in terms of substances, like, for a long time, weed and or alcohol served a great purpose in my life. Many great purposes. First of all, real fun. Real fun to get drunk, real fun to get stoned. Just telling it like it is, guys. There's a reason why I did it. It definitely served a purpose in my life for many years while I was dealing with social awkwardness. I was I had very high anxiety at any and all social gatherings, whether it was with a bunch of strangers or my own family, or it didn't matter. I just felt a lot of anxiety in social settings, and marijuana and or alcohol got me through all of those, got me through all of them real well. Lubricated the old social system inside my own head and allowed me to, interact with people in a way that I wasn't freaked out, and that I kind of tried to fit in with these people by drinking because they were all drinking, sort of a situation. I didn't leave the house without my weed pen, right? My vape pen. And it started out where I would just take it to social occasions, but then it turned into taking it with me everywhere. And, then it turned into me smoking weed as soon as I rolled out of bed, and smoking all day long until I went to bed, and then doing it all over again the next day. So there was definitely a time in my life when these substances were definitely working for me. And I've sort of approached this new area in my life where I'm reevaluating the things in my life that work and don't work. And I'm finding that weed and alcohol and these intoxicants aren't really working for me in a way that they did in the past. I'm real introspective and analyze everything in my life, including this. And I'm coming to peace with the fact that I'm just an all-in type of a person. I used to beat myself up for that. I try to find balance in it whenever I can, but at the end of the day, it's a part of my DNA. I'm real black and white, and I try to find balance in the gray. I try not to adhere too strictly to it, but at the end of the day, like I can't just have a smoke. I can't just have one beer. I can't just have one slice of cake, even though I want to. I want to, but everything in me is pushing me towards eating the whole cake, having the whole case of beer, smoking all the things, right? And I used to beat myself up about that, trying to change that. And I'm realizing that it takes more effort to try to change all of that rather than just accept, like, look, I got the binge in me, right? I just wanna go all in. And so knowing that about myself, perhaps it would be easier to just stay away from those things, right? Rather than trying to endlessly wrestle with them. Because as I start to analyze this, I realize that the things like weed or alcohol or food or whatever it is, has had a lot of control over me my whole life. I've let these substances have control over me, right? And so this process of letting go is about me trying to regain some of this control in my life, right? Because I play this game back and forth. It's this mental game that I play with myself. Real fun mental game where I'm trying to attain freedom in my life, as much freedom as I possibly can. And so the game that I play is, how do I attain that freedom with these substances in my life, right? Like, I often tell my kids that it's not balanced to give up something forever. Like, it's not balanced to just never have sugar again, or never drink alcohol again, or never smoke weed again, or whatever. To find balance in that, right? Like, I'm like, okay, that's fine. So how can I find balance in smoking weed? And it turns out I have a very difficult time doing that. I don't like to use labels, but I almost don't even want to say it, but I'm an addict, right? I've got that. I've got it in my DNA. It's deep in there. And so I can try to ignore that, or I can accept it for what it is and realize, like, okay, this is what we're working with here, right? And I realize that, could I try to balance my smoking? Yes, I could. I've tried my entire life, quite unsuccessfully. And so I'm playing with the idea. I'm not playing with the idea. I'm deep in it, of just avoiding these things, right? Avoiding these substances, knowing that it's very difficult for me to only have one. And so I'm finding that perhaps balance is not trying to figure out how much I can smoke per day. Because the game that I play is, okay, I'm only going to smoke at night. Okay, we got to cinch the belt. We got to batten down the hatches here. We need to get our shit together. So, like, let's start setting some ground rules. We're going to only smoke at nighttime. We're going to fast every other day. We're going to only eat food between this hour and this hour. I'm only going to have drinks on the weekends. I'm only, like, all these rules. And then inevitably, I always blow right through them. All right. Maybe I'll do good for a week. Maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month or two, right? I play these games with myself where I'm like, okay, let's just take a little break time, rebalancing time, right? Like sober October situation. I'll take a week off, take a month off, maybe even 2 months off, just to show myself I can do it, show myself I'm in control, show myself it's no big deal. And then as soon as that month is up, or that week is up, or whatever time I told myself is up, I run right back to the dispensary or right back to the bottle, and I start chugging and I start smoking, right? I'm chomping at the bit, like, okay, that was good. I did it. Yay. I have self-control. Good for me. Pat on the back. Get me that weed. Get me that alcohol. I'm ready to go back. In these last few years, I've really been cultivating in my life this attitude of running towards things that scare the shit out of me, things that I'm afraid of, right? And so I've really been struggling with freedom and balance and where that line is. What does that mean for me? Well, can I be balanced and still smoke weed? Can I be balanced and still have alcohol in my life? Can I be balanced, like, don't tell me what to do, even if it's the voice in my head saying, we should probably cool it on the smoking and drinking. I'm like, don't fucking tell me what to do. Right? I can't have anybody telling me what to do. And so I'm wrestling with, like, which is the scarier option here? Can I smoke? Can't I smoke? Should I cut it back? Is there freedom in that? Can I still be free and not smoke ever again? And it's real confusing for me because the voice in my head is always trying to fuck me up is what I was going to say, but just keep me off balance, right? And so what I have to do is strip away all the nonsense and ask myself, like, should I, shouldn't I? Should I, shouldn't I? Should I, shouldn't? That is exhausting. I've been doing it for years. I've been doing it my whole life. Should I quit? Shouldn't I? Should I quit? Shouldn't I? And so I finally had to ask myself, like, look, which option is going to keep me in my comfort zone and which option is going to scare the shit out of me? Okay? Because if I keep smoking, let's just call that option A. If I keep smoking and keep drinking and keep playing that game of like, well, every once in a while I'll have to take a break because I go off the deep end every fucking time, is that my comfort zone? And the answer is, I don't want to hear it, but the answer is yes. That is my comfort zone. Whenever I'm feeling like I'm in a bad mood, well, got to drink, got to smoke to try to rebalance that mood. Right? Whenever I'm about to record a podcast, got to smoke a shit ton of weed in order to be fun and creative. I've been doing that for a long time. That's my comfort zone. That's my go-to. And for a long time, it really worked, like I was talking about, but it's no longer working anymore. Every single time I smoked weed before a podcast or in order to be more creative or in order to have a fun walk through the woods, I'm going to be stoned out of my mind. That's my comfort zone. And I've been learning these last few years to get the hell out of that comfort zone. If I want to grow. If I want to grow and if I want to expand my soul, my consciousness, me as a human being, if I want all of that to grow and expand, I must get out of my comfort zone. AKA running towards my fears. My fears are never in my comfort zone. That's why I'm there. It's all nice and cozy. Nothing scary here. Nice and cozy in the comfort zone. But what also is in that comfort zone is stagnancy. And I'm feeling real stagnant. I was feeling real stagnant. And so what I've learned to do is run towards the thing that scares me the most. And what scares me is sobriety. For many reasons. What scares me, honestly, is to record a podcast like I'm doing right now, completely sober. That scares the shit out of me. I can't tell you how long it took me to hit record today. A lot of pacing around, a lot of trying to talk myself into things or out of things and just like get into the right frame of mind. And scares the shit out of me to record these things sober. So guess what? That's what I'm doing. I do the things that scare me. And I keep doing them and I keep doing them until they don't scare me anymore. That's how I become limitless. That's how I become fearless. You cannot become fearless and limitless in the confines of your comfort zone. And so what scares me the most is to record these podcasts stone cold sober. Because there's a voice in my head that I call the adversary. The adversary is always telling me that my podcasts are better when I'm stoned, that I'm boring when I'm sober, that nobody's going to want to listen to me if I'm not stoned out of my mind or drunk. or both. But the adversary has proven himself to be a liar, a deceiver. And I love proving him wrong by doing just this. Oh, look, you told me that I couldn't record a podcast sober. Well, guess what? Here I am. Hi. You lied to me again. I'm doing it. And people are listening to it. Hi, love you. Welcome. And so I just got tired of the game. The back and forth, taking a break, always having to take a break. Oh, I got to take another break again. How long is this going to go on for? The using of these substances, I realized, were to avoid my own pain and suffering that I was causing myself ultimately, right? As humans, we often, or always, don't want to experience pain and suffering. Whether it's to avoid social awkwardness at a party, that's suffering, right? In order to avoid uncomfortability, in order to avoid loneliness, in order to avoid boredom, in order to avoid sadness, right? Anything to not experience these things. Get me out of here. And so the way that I avoided loneliness, boredom, social awkwardness, uncomfortability, sadness was to drink and smoke. And it worked until it didn't work anymore. And it's not working anymore. The last time I tried smoking weed before recording a podcast, it was terrible. I was full of anxiety. It amplified my anxiety, the smoking weed did. It made me more anxious. My mind was just racing. It was just like I couldn't focus my mind, right? I've been working so hard these last few years on my spiritual practices, on gaining more control over my mind, over my thoughts, over my reactions to things, my emotions, right? Just bringing them in check and not allowing myself to react the way that I used to react to things. But I find that when I smoke weed lately, all that goes out the window. I start getting anxious like I used to back in the day. I start getting more stressed out like I used to back in the day. I start beating myself up like I used to back in the day. I don't do these things anymore, or at least not as much as I used to, depending on what we're talking about here. But when I'm smoking weed, I start going into that mindset of like, you piece of shit. You're a loser. You have no self-control. Right? What the fuck is wrong? We fucked it up again. Here we are smoking again. Right? I go back into that self-loathing and self-hatred mode that I was in for most of my adulthood, that I've been working real hard at deleting that old programming. That's what this is all about. It's just reprogramming. I was just recently reminded of a Bible passage. It was probably Jesus that said it, but let's just call it Jesus. Talking about how milk is for babies and it works for a while, right? But then at some point the baby has to grow up and transition to solid foods, right? And so for a long time, marijuana and alcohol was my milk. It got the job done, right? It nourished me. It got me through a lot. But what the divine, what Spirit has been telling me lately is that it's time to graduate. It's time for some meat. It's time for those solid foods, baby. Right? Put the bottle down. The metaphorical milk bottle, but also the bottle of beer, right? The bottle of booze. It's time to put that bottle down. It's time to graduate. I'm ready for solid foods. And it's just like when I'm, potty training my kids, right? We're past those days, thank the Lord. But, it's really hard for all humans to do something new, right? To transition from pissing in your own diapers to learning how to pee in the toilet like a big boy, right? And it was a messy transition, literally and figuratively. It's a messy transition. Going from diapers to the toilet or from milk to solid foods. It's fucking hard. And so what I'm doing during this process is giving myself grace, loving myself through it the best that I can, patting myself on the back. You got this, big guy. You got this. Good job. You're doing a great job. I have to remind myself of that. And so I'm ready for the transition. I'm ready for the transition. Right? It's like me going back to diapers now as an adult. It's like, that's just, no thank you. Why would I want to be covered in my own shit? And yet every time I smoke weed or drink in excess, because that's what it always leads to, I'm just covered in my own shit. Like, why am I doing this again? Why? And I know why. Because I'm scared. Because I'm scared. But I'm constantly seeking more freedom in my life. And as I am on this human journey, I'm realizing that most of the freedom that I don't have is because of my own mental barriers, my own limiting beliefs. My own thoughts are keeping me from being free. That's a mind bender. Like, I used to blame other people, blame the system, blame the government, blame, until I realized, no, I'm in charge of my own freedom here, right? It's literally a state of mind. And I'm realizing that I am a slave to these substances because I've allowed myself to be a slave to these substances, right? I've put the shackles on my own hands. It's such a revelation, realizing this, right? Realizing that I'm in charge of freeing myself. I heard a quote recently from the creator of Atari and the Pong game back in the day. And he was talking about what it takes to make a good game, right? A good video game. And he said that in order to make a good game, you have to make the game easy to play, but difficult to master. And that really applies to life. Because it's really easy, right? If I want to be free, just stop smoking. If you want to be free, just stop drinking. It's really easy, right? It's real easy on paper. But in reality, it's so fucking difficult to master. And this is a good game that we're in here, folks. I often talk about how we're in a simulation or an illusion or a game or something along those lines. This is a good game. Fucked up, but good game. Because it is technically easy to play this game, right? Why don't you just stop being stressed out at social gatherings? Oh, okay. That's easy, right? But it's so fucking difficult to master this thing. That's what I love. I love the challenge of it all. I honestly love challenging myself. And I've shifted my perception on things, many things, but as I've started running towards things that scare me, I found that that's also running towards things that cause me pain and suffering, that are created within my own mind, of course, right? And so part of mastering the game is mastering my mind. Once I learned to accept things, to let things go, right? To free myself from these chains, I'm slowly freeing myself. I've always had a challenge with discipline, to be honest with you. Discipline, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts this week about just sobriety, listening to a lot of Michael Chernow, if you're interested. He's a podcaster and he's on a bunch of podcasts and he talks about sobriety a lot. So I really got a lot out of that, Michael Chernow. But he talks a lot about discipline, and the people that he has on his podcast also talk about discipline, and they're, these manly men, and he has women on there too occasionally, right? But they talk a lot about discipline, and it's really hard for me because I've always struggled with discipline. The people that he has on the show and himself, they are, serial entrepreneurs. They get up at 4:30 a.m. every morning without fail. They talk about how they make their beds and, how they get into a positive mindset, and they have their rituals in the morning, and I eat dry oatmeal every day, and then I go and do a cold plunge after that, and then I work out in the gym, and then I jog, and then I take the kids to school, and then they have all these rituals, and it kind of makes me feel like a piece of shit, honestly, when I listen to people like that, because I'm like, oh, I'm not like that, right? Or even worse, oh, I could never be like that. So I'm trying to find discipline in my life that doesn't have to be as hardcore as some of these people are, as militaristic as some of these people are, right? Just about trying to be true to myself and to be a man of my word, not just with other people, but to myself. When I tell myself that I want to stick to something, that's what discipline is. It's just saying, look, we made a promise here, bud, to change things, to no longer go back to the milk. And so let's honor that. Let's be honorable to ourselves. Nobody's watching. Nobody cares. Just you and me here. Let's be disciplined for us to create that freedom, to create that stability in our lives that hasn't previously existed, right? So I'm playing around with discipline. And obviously it's very difficult. But I'm always trying to challenge myself. I'm always trying to run towards those things that make me uncomfortable. Because that's how I become comfortable in the uncomfortable. By becoming unstoppable, right? This is how I do it. So I've been telling myself lately reminding myself that it's just smoking weed or drinking or eating a shit ton of sugar like I like to do. I have these addictions in my life, but they could be so much worse, right? I mean, like eating too much sugar sounds silly and ridiculous to somebody who's, on heroin or meth or something really intense. Like, oh, really, buddy? You ate a little too many muffins there? Boo-hoo. As they're all cracked out, like... It's just about not trying to compare yourself to others. That's what I have to do in my own life, right? Like, the voice in my head's always trying to the adversary is always trying to get me to smoke weed. And so part of the trick that devil always tries to tell me is like, well, other people are smoking weed. Why can't you just be like them? Like Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg doesn't have a problem with smoking weed. Like, can't we just be like Snoop Dogg? Right? Why can't we just have that life? He obviously doesn't struggle with it, so maybe we can get there. Trying to trick me to smoke again. Or like, well, the shaman, smoke, take drugs, take hallucinogens. Why can't we be like a shaman, right? But then I have to realize, like, the shaman aren't, smoking all day and all night, right? The shaman aren't like waking and baking peyote here. They're not getting ripped every night before bed. They're using it for ceremonial purposes, occasionally on the, certain, at the solstice or on a full moon or something. They're not getting ripped every night like you are, buddy. That's what I have to tell myself, right? I'm like, okay. So I'm on my own journey. Everybody's dealing with different things, and I'm trying my best not to compare myself to Snoop Dogg or the shaman or anybody else. because it's never as good as it sounds. I always want to smoke. I'm like, biting my nails over here. Like, I could really use a drink. I could really use a smoke. I'm really stressed out right now. Or I'm really, But then as soon as I smoke, I feel like shit. Or when I drink, I'm not just drinking one. I'm having the whole bottle. And so then I wake up the next day and I feel like shit. Physically and emotionally, I'm in a bad mood. I'm grumpy. My day is ruined because of that. It's like I was in the grocery store a few days ago and they were selling these slices of cake, 2 for $5, 2 giant slices of cake for $5. And I was hungry. It was dinner time and I saw that and I was like, ooh, hello, chocolate cake. I see you there. And 2 for $5. It's like it's meant to be, right? That's the voice in my head telling me that. But I know that if I eat those 2 slices of cake, especially for dinner, like if I have those 2 pieces of cake for dinner, I'm going to feel like shit. I'm going to feel like complete trash the rest of the day and probably the next day. And so it's just not worth it for me to listen to that voice in my head, right? And it's just about practicing that and saying, no, I know I'm going to feel like shit. And so when somebody offers me a drink or when I'm feeling like smoking weed, it's about saying, no, I've been on the other side of that and I know how it's going to make me feel. And it's just not worth it. It's about choosing things that are worth it or not worth it, right? Like if you're on a diet, is it really going to be worth it to eat those 2 pieces of cake? Probably not. So it's just about making choices, right? I started looking into what religion has to say about it. I'm always kind of interested to see, especially things that are prevalent in most cosmologies, like the flood story is in all the ancient stories, right? So anytime there's something that kind of crosses all of them, I take note of it. And so I started looking into, what the wise men said about it. And nearly every religion, including the Bible, talks about intoxicants, right? And how they're not great. How they're not great for people, right? They created a cloudiness for myself. I'll speak for myself. My mind is always kind of foggy when I'm stoned or drunk, right? And even though I think it's going to connect me to the universe, like when I first started smoking weed, it connected me and opened up my third eye and, I could see things in a new way and I was connected to spirit and the all that is and God and the universe and holy cow, this is insane. It sort of changed everything that needed to happen, but it doesn't do that anymore. The adversary is always telling me, oh, you want to connect to God? Why don't you go get blasted on a bunch of weed? That'll do the trick. And then I do, and I feel further away from God. I feel more disconnected. It creates that separation. And I don't like it. And so I'm finding new ways. I'm just having to shift and pivot, that's all. I'm having to find new ways to connect to the all that is, to connect with God, to connect with my spirit. And it's challenging because I've never done it before. Every time I've had these amazing moments with God, these life-changing moments, just crying my eyes out and connecting, and it's just like this spiritual thing, I'm finding new ways to do that. Sober. And it's challenging, but I like a good challenge, right? So I don't know if any of you are on a similar journey or thinking about these sorts of things, because it's not just alcohol, it's not just weed, it can be anything. Video games, social media. I used to think that, certain people have the addict's DNA, right? It's in the genes. I'm an addict, and there's nothing I can do about it, right? But I think that with social media now, I think it's hard. I think it might be in all of us, right? I don't know too many people that aren't addicted to their phones, right? So it doesn't have to be a substance, or addicted to porn, or addicted to just any number of things, right, that are no longer serving us. And of course, I have no judgment against anybody that does smoke weed or drink or do any of those things at all, right? Because we're all on different journeys and different paths. And what doesn't work for me may work for you. Great. Cheers. Theoretical cheers. I don't want to cheers you with alcohol, okay? So it's just about finding balance. That's where I'm at, is I just want to be free, and I just want to have that balance in my life, and I'm realizing that balance can only be found through sobriety. And it's kind of a bummer because, weed and alcohol, we had a good run. But it's no longer doing it for me. So I am just trusting that the universe will deliver me new things to replace the old, right? Better things, upgraded things, right? And so I'm practicing over and over again, not running back to the old patterns, the old cycles, the old crutches, the milk. And I'm learning how to cook solid food again. And it's a learning process. So thank you for coming along with me on this journey. Thank you for listening. I appreciate all of you so much. And I'm sure this won't be the last time we talk about this. I enjoy sort of working my way through these things via the podcast. It's very therapeutic for me. And from what you guys have told me, it's therapeutic for many of you as well. So cheers to us. Cheers to us to being human, right? If you're going through something similar, you got this. Love yourself. It's fucking hard. Love yourself for a minute. Take a minute to give yourself a hug. Even if nobody else in your life is saying, good for you, I'll say it, good for you. We're all just trying our best here. It's real easy for that voice in our heads to start shitting on us. Or the people in our family shitting on us. Or our old peer group we used to drink with shitting on us. Or whatever, right? You got to focus on you. I got to focus on me. And do what's best for you. Love you.